If you thought the Tinder swindler was bad, wait till Netflix starts making their documentary on globalx for being the dividend swindler. Hey, what's going on, guys? Making a sequel to the video I put out last week when we speculated that globalx, the fund provider of QYLD, among many other ETFs, may have been deceptive in how they were posting the tax consequences of their monthly distributions. Luckily for us, there's no longer any need to speculate, as globalx has actually posted a form on how exactly each of their ETFs were taxed in 2021. So I'm going to break that down for you. Just make sure you hit that like button for the algorithm and are subscribed for more updates. Also, just because you might be a big fan of QYLD, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be sharing news that goes against this ETF. I am not globalx, and part of being a good investor is hearing both the positive and negative news, because last I checked, facts don't care about your feelings. Okay, so when we go to globalx's website and go all the way to the bottom, we can see something here called the supplemental tax information. We can see here that they released their full year end tax supplement for all 2021 globalx distributions right here. I know this might be a little bit hard to read, but according to them, this is to provide necessary information to financial advisors and brokerage firms to properly classify distributions in calendar year 2021 on IRS Form 1099. So this is going to be our little treasure map. It's going to give us all the answers that we need about how QYLD was taxed. And here we are. When we go down to QYLD, we can see in column 14, the amount that was ROC in 2021 was a whole $0 and 0 cents. And the amount that was total ordinary dividends was $2.85, which is actually exactly how much they distributed in dividends last year. Ordinary dividends get taxed the same way as ordinary income, so it's going to be at my highest income tax bracket. This basically confirms what a lot of us have been speculating, that globalx's monthly tax distribution estimates were totally misleading. They had told us that about 97% of their distributions would be ROC, but the lie detector came back and told us that was false. By putting a disclaimer at the end of these monthly estimates, globalx is trying to absolve itself of any blame. Kind of like how when a celebrity pumps up a cryptocurrency that sponsors them, and then they just add in at the end that this is not financial advice, to try and avoid any liability. Based on a few comments on my last video, I think people might be a little misguided on what the QYLD community is angry about. We are not necessarily mad that globalx is making us pay taxes. Even though taxation is theft, paying income taxes means you're making money, and that's actually a good thing. It's inevitable that you'll have to pay taxes unless you're super rich and can afford the best accountants. Or if you operate as a college, but that's an argument for another day. People are mad because globalx was deceptive in how their distributions would be taxed. Their monthly estimates that they put out were nowhere close to how much in taxes investors would actually have to pay. And it's not like you can just tell the IRS that globalx screwed you over, right? The IRS could charge you an underpayment penalty and interest if you aren't paying enough in taxes throughout the year. And if you're an investor who owned enough shares of QYLD, that's a very possible scenario that could happen. The investor would have thought they were getting ROC distributions and potentially just deferring taxes for a while, but that certainly did not end up being the case. Another aspect that has investors annoyed is that globalx is more so designed for investors in or near retirement. That's not to say that younger investors can't benefit from QYLD, but when you're in retirement, you generally need to adhere to a strict budget. You can't just have large variances in expenses, and that's exactly what's happening here if a retiree has to pay an expensive tax bill that they weren't expecting. I know you would be mad if you went to a restaurant with your family, you looked at the menu, ordered food, and then later they tell you the menu was actually just an estimate on how much the food really cost. It's really going to cost you 5x what you thought it would be. You would be mad, you should be mad, and you should be asking questions. Just going with the status quo is how people send hundreds of thousands of dollars to people that they met on a dating app that they barely know, and how people fall for Ponzi schemes. I don't care how many babies they said they want to make with you. What's next? Is globalx going to say that their enemies are after them and they're going to start making us pay them 10 to 12% returns every year? You might be wondering, what am I doing with my shares of globalx? The truth is, I'm still holding on. The performance lately has not been great, but like I mentioned earlier, I personally don't mind paying taxes on my distributions. And I know if I wanted to be shielded from taxes, I could just use a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA or other tax-advantaged accounts. Alright investors, I answered how QYLD will be taxed in 2021. Make sure you check your tax forms from your brokerage in case they somehow change again. And I also covered some of the confusion from my last video. This was more of a playful video. If you didn't watch the Tinder Swindler, you're probably very confused on some of the references I made. And just because I'm frustrated with globalx, that doesn't mean I hate them. I'm just dishing out some fair criticism. I do make videos on dividend stocks and income ETFs quite often, so make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button for the algorithm, as it's a way to motivate me to make more videos. My videos are always found in podcast form under the Collect Cash podcast name, and I will buy, stash, and collect cash you later.